With the weight of just at around 155 gram or even 156 gram, this RU9 is actually surprisingly very lightweight, because it is without a doubt the biggest in the RU family so far, because the previous RU7 or even RU6 are just pure dongles. They don't have any kind of battery, and they have pretty much limited function in comparison to this RU9, because this RU9, on top of having battery, it can also serve as a Bluetooth DAC amp. So let's just talk about some of the operations when it comes to this RU9 used as a portable device, like what I'm doing right now, attached to my phone very securely right now, because it has a MagSafe connection. And even if you opted to use the lovely casing which was included with this RU9, it will still attach to the phone Xiaomi 15 using MagSafe connection. And the best part, I absolutely love this USB Type-C cable which was included with this RU9, and it comes in this very compact angle connection, and it is almost discreet. So that is one of the key things which I think makes this RU9 very attractive. However, there's a setback to this kind of cable. You see, when used as a portable device attached to my phone like this, using such a small and very short cable, it is prone to picking up RF interferences. So what I'm trying to say here is that, as per expected, with many powerful DAC amp, especially those which are based on R2R or even tube DAC amp, they have a tendency to pick up RF interferences, especially from the cable connection. One way to mitigate that is, of course, you're going to use longer cable. But then you would also sacrifice the portability of this RU9. With just 2000 mAh of battery inside this RU9, to keep it compact and small, it takes at around 1.5 hours to fully charge it from 1% to 100% using mobile phone chargers, which is PD 3.0. And let me just talk about the endurance itself when used as a portable device. Driving my magnetic planar like this, which is Sivga Nightingale, from the 4.4mm balance in high gain mode, I was able to get 4 hours 30 minutes in solid state mode. But when I switch to either one of the tube mode, either the classic or the modern tube, I'll be lucky if I can get anywhere close to 3.5 hours. Most likely just at over 3 hours. And on top of it, let's talk about the temperature itself, because this is, after all, a tube amplifier. It does get hotter, you can feel the heat, but the most impressive thing is that it does not go beyond 38°C. At most, normally I would expect most tube amplifier would operate closer to 40°C. So I would say that that is already super impressive. There is an option which you can toggle so that your phone will always trickle charge this RU9 to keep it running way longer, definitely longer than 4.5 hours or even 4 hours, by just simply enabling USB with audio and power from the phone itself. So what will happen is that instead of draining the battery from itself, it will also drain the power from my phone. And of course, there is a setback to that. Instead of running, let's say 24 hours, it can only survive 12 hours in that situation. Last but not least, this is a tube amplifier after all. So you might be wondering, how does it perform when used as a portable tube amplifier, the microphonic? And I am happy to say that I haven't had any instances I am hearing any kind of distortion or microphonic coming from this RU9 despite being used as a portable device like what I'm doing right now. So that is also super impressive. Rated at 310 mW of power at 32 ohm each channel from the 3.5mm single-ended termination in high gain. This RU9 without doubt is one of the most powerful single-ended output which I have seen so far from a portable DAC amp. And if you switch over to 4.4mm balance, still in high gain, from the 4.4mm balance, you're gonna get double that power, which is at around 620 mW of power per channel at 32 ohms. So that is definitely super impressive. And it gets even better if you attach external power to it. Now you're gonna get at around 1000 mW of power per channel at 32 ohms. Powerful enough to compete with many desktop DAC amp. And true indeed, when I connect it to my Sennheiser HD600, which is rated at 300 ohm, I am getting the kind of sound which is definitely comparable to desktop DAC amp. I needed only at around 50 out of 100 to get proper headroom, and the dynamic authority of it just simply amazing. And when I connect it to my magnetic planar, which is Sivga Nightingale, I needed only at around 32 to 35 out of 100 for proper headroom. And the best part, despite being super powerful, this thing does not impart any kind of floor noises at all, even when used with highly sensitive hybrid IEM. At under 16 ohm, definitely no floor noises at all. I will not be covering too much on the features and the function of this Cayin RU9 here, because all you need to do is just simply watch the first part of this video which I did earlier, unboxing it and also walking you through the features and function and also the interfaces provided by this Cayin RU9. So let me just quickly cover some of the most important thing. Perhaps one of the key thing which I should mention is that this RU9 come also with this controls here, which will allow you to do play, pause, and also this forward and reverse here. On top of this rotary volume adjustment, which I find very, very intuitive. I really love this kind of barrel rotary volume adjustment, which is 100 step, by the way. And of course, you're gonna have this very simple button here, toggle between solid state, tube, which is the classic tube, or even modern tube. Now, let's just go straight to the point. Let's just talk about sound and performance. First and foremost, it comes equipped with dual AKM 4493S EQ. Literally, pretty much very similar to Cayin very own N3 Ultra, which also run on AKM 4493S, but not SEQ. And I will talk a bit more on that comparison later. But the most interesting part is that instead of using similar type of tubes, which you can find in N3 Ultra, which is the Gen 6418, I think, which is very popular, which you can literally find in many other portable DAC amp which offer tube. This one runs on a very special tube configuration, which is KORG NP61, which you can find in Cayin flagship grade, ultra expensive N8 Mark II. That is a flagship digital audio player. So simply put, you can expect pretty much similar kind of quality being trickled down literally into this RU9 from that N8 Mark II. For the most part, my usage on this RU9 has always been on almost exclusively 99.9% on tube mode, especially the classic tube mode or even the modern tube mode. Very rarely, I would even say that 5% that I use the solid state mode, because that should be the reason why you want to get a portable DAC amp which offer tube experience. So let's just talk about the solid state configuration. I would just simply say that it is definitely the kind of quality and performance which I would expect from a very well tuned, very well implemented DAC amp in this form factor, because it easily competes with many other top tier DAC amp in this form factor, especially even dongle, when it comes to resolution, imaging, details, and the kind of transparency and neutrality. Yes, this thing is neutral. What it means is that in solid state, being neutral, it does not exhibit any kind of coloration. It does not exhibit any kind of boosting in any of the sound frequency. Anything from lower frequency to the mid-range to the upper frequency, there's no boosting. But the best part is that when it comes to timbre, it is definitely very musical, even in solid state mode. It is definitely analog sounding. It does not sound clinical at all, despite being highly analytical, and it is definitely not sharp sounding at all. Like I said earlier, the primary reason you'd want to use this RU9 because of the tube configuration, which, let me remind you again, similar to Cayin N8 Mark II, which is a flagship level kind of experience when it comes to tube. It is definitely very tubey sounding. And I especially love the classic tube sound, because when I switch to classic tube sound, immediately I am hearing the kind of sound which is definitely very organic, very tubey, it is super airy, and it is in fact outright warm sounding, especially when I connect it to my Sivga Nightingale or even Sennheiser HD600. This is the kind of sound which emphasizes a bit more on the mid-range. It focuses a bit more on the coloration of the mid-range. It's just simply sounding rich and dense and very immersive. And when I switch to the other tube mode, which is the modern tube mode, then you're gonna get somewhere in between, a combination of the solid state resolution and imaging, less warm, less frontal mids, but definitely the kind of combination which may be appealing to many people. But to me, I just gonna say that I prefer the classic mode because that is one of the very reason why I would want to use tube DAC amp. I just want to have that tubey sound. And of course, you might be wondering, how does it perform as a wireless Bluetooth DAC amp? Because it does have this Bluetooth inside here. And it offers even LDAC connectivity, which you can easily connect to your Android phone. Sorry, iPhone does not have LDAC, by the way, at which you're gonna get almost lossless kind of performance. So just imagine this. Using 100% is when you use the USB connectivity, at which everything would be at 100%. Switching to Bluetooth, I would even say that I'm getting close to at around 90% perhaps of the actual performance, even when playing some very high resolution file being downsampled into Bluetooth protocol, because I am running at 990 kbps, which is almost lossless. And I might even say that if I am not being critical, if I'm listening purely for just leisure, I might even say that it is highly recommended to run this RU9 portably using wireless connectivity. The only other downside, of course, other than just losing just a little bit of resolution, that I am also losing a bit of runtime when running in battery mode. So I did mention earlier, I might be able to get close to 4 hours or even 3 hours running in tube mode. Now I am getting less than 3 hours running in Bluetooth mode. And now on to the most exciting part, comparison. How does this Cayin RU9 compare against the rest of the competition in the market, especially when pitted against portable DAC amp which offer tube amplifier? I know there's a few in the market and I'll be covering some of the DAC amp which I have tried and tested so far. Let's just start it with this huge thing here in my hand. If you have seen my review on it, there's no doubt that this X-Duo XD05T is my absolute favorite when I conclude 2024, because this is the best portable DAC amp priced at similarly with this RU9 at $500 and it offers larger tube inside and it offers the kind of power which is comparable to desktop DAC amp. But let's just have a look at them comparatively side by side. You see here, you can clearly see that this X-Duo XD05T is definitely taller, bigger and thicker too, and 3 times heavier. And it consumes battery pretty much similarly to this RU9 here, which means that in tube mode, if I were to use this as a portable device, if I'm insane enough, it will give me at best 3 hours, similar to this. And when it comes to sound and performance, now this is kind of a bit difficult for me because when I listen between these two, I am hearing the kind of similar sound, especially in classic mode. I would even say that this is a bit more analog sounding, a bit more warmer sounding as compared to this RU9, which means that if I were to compare between the two of them, when it comes to transparency and accuracy element, this RU9 offers a bit more of transparency and accuracy because of it does not offer that much of coloration at all while operating in classic tube mode. And this one is definitely more colored. Otherwise, when it comes to resolution, imaging, details, soundstage, airiness, both of them are definitely comparable. It would not be a problem for me to say that I can easily choose the both of them as being equal. Ultimately, the key differentiator between these two, since they are both equally impressive, would be the form factor, usage case scenario. At the end of the day, the decision between this and this boils down to ergonomic and usage case scenario. Because let me just repeat myself, sound and performance, both of them are pretty much very well matched with just some minor differences between the two of them. And it boils down to your taste and preference, which one you want to have. Because price very similarly, they perform very similarly, but this one is definitely bigger and I see this X-Duo XD05T staying at home rather than being portable because this is definitely a lot more portable than this. And this one also runs cooler than this. This one, by the way, runs in excess of over 40C. And of course, we also have Cayin N3 Ultra, which I mentioned earlier, uses the very same AKM AK4493S. But this one, AK4493SEQ, When it comes to performance on solid state, I would just simply say that they are pretty much very well matched, very equal. And when it comes to tube implementation, tube experience, I would even say that closely matched as well. But I do have to give a bit of advantage on this RU9 for being a bit more, let's say, airy with the soundstage itself. I do feel that this RU9 is in fact just a little bit superior when it comes to that tubey experience as compared to that N3 Ultra. And of course, we also have iBasso Nunchaku, which I reviewed very recently. Now, Nunchaku is pretty much simpler. Simpler because it is still a thoroughbred dongle, which does not have any kind of battery, which does not have any kind of, let's say, wireless connectivity, no Bluetooth there. But sound-wise, they are also very closely matched, but I have to give an advantage to this RU9 because when it comes to tube experience, this is a bit more tubey and a bit more powerful as well because that Nunchaku offer in excess of over 500 milliwatt of power, where this offer 620 milliwatt of power, which you can hear the difference if you attach something which is highly scalable like magnetic planar or even headphone. But perhaps if you use something which is, let's say, like a hybrid IEM, they are pretty much comparable. Something which is very efficient, they can't appreciate the extra power. But if you have something which appreciates extra power, then clearly this thing is superior. Last but not least, we also have Muse Hi-Fi M5 Ultra, which is another portable DAC amp, battery powered, also have Bluetooth, and it comes with a configuration of dual Gen 6418, pretty much very similar to N3 Ultra. But based on my memory, if I were to compare it with this RU9, then it is very clear to me this RU9 is also superior if I were to compare it against that Muse Hi-Fi M5 Ultra by at least 10% better. I sincerely believe that Cayin has done a stellar job with this Cayin RU9 because if we reflect on the evolution of Cayin RU series, starting with RU6, which I tested a few years back, and also Cayin RU7, this thing without doubt is the very best of all RU series so far because it evolved from a batteryless dongle into something which is, let's say, with battery, with Bluetooth, and with features, with impressive sound and performance, and it offers the kind of experience which is also impressive, regardless whether you are running in solid state or even tube mode. So, would I highly recommend it? I would even declare that this thing is the very best so far for 2025 when it comes to portable DAC amp, be it for solid state or even tube amplifier. Thank you so very much for watching the video until the end. Without skipping, I hope. Now click like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram under the name of AndyAV. And also, if you'd like to support me directly, you can join the membership below for behind the scene, especially for AAV Insider and above, which will allow you to see what I am doing behind the scene